been traveling a ton the last couple months, and so our podcast queue is actually running pretty dry, which is why for the first time in I think a year, we didn't have an episode go live yesterday. So I'm getting this one up today. Hopefully we won't have to skip a beat again. But all that said, if you know of a senior B2B marketing leader that would be a fantastic guest on the podcast, shoot Jonathan an email, jonathan@sweetfishmedia.com. We would love to feature them on the show. As you know, as a listener of the show, we try to get pretty granular. So the more specific of a topic they can speak on, if you maybe know somebody that is an expert in Facebook ads or a particular element of B2B marketing that you've gleaned a lot of wisdom from in the past, we would love to feature them on the show. So again, just shoot Jonathan an email, and hopefully we can get this B2B growth queue filled back up. So now that little public service announcement is over, I was listening. I just got back from my annual bro trip, is what we call it. And so there were 7 of us on an RV. We went up to Nashville and Chattanooga and Atlanta, and it was a great time. And on the way back, I was listening to the new podcast from Reid Hoffman, the founder of LinkedIn, called Masters of Scale. And I was listening to an interview that he did with Sheryl Sandberg, the number 2 at Facebook. And I really had 5 takeaways from this episode, but you should download the Masters of Scale podcast. I'm not getting paid to tell you to do that. It's just been a really helpful podcast for me. And so download that and listen to Sheryl Sandberg's episode. But I wanted to share my 5 takeaways from the episode. This first takeaway is, as a leader, you need to be able to spot unscalable systems. And so when Sheryl was with Google before Mark brought her over to Facebook, she shared a story about how her team was growing rapidly. So I think she went from like 4 people to 4,000 people, and she had to learn how to adapt her leadership. And one of the things that she learned was being able to detect unscalable systems. At the case at Google, it was how they did birthdays. Obviously, when you have a team of 4, the way you do birthdays is drastically different than when you have a team of 4,000. So being able to spot those unscalable systems is huge. The second point that I gleaned from this interview was this idea that you need to focus on making sure that people feel comfortable telling you what's not working. So as a leader in an organization, making sure that you're creating a culture where people are good with telling you when something's broken or a certain process isn't working. I've been thinking a lot about this just in our own business, and have I created a culture with our team where, be it from a customer experience standpoint or an internal process or a particular strategy that we're deploying on the growth side, if something's not working, I want people to tell me that they think it's not working. I by no means have all the answers, and so and I've assembled a team around me because they're really sharp and really smart people. But I think oftentimes leaders give this perception that, hey, you can give me input, but I'm not really going to listen to it because at the end of the day, my vote goes, and I don't really value what you think. And so by having that mentality, you're not going to pull the best out of your team because they're not going to give you thoughts and ideas if they know that you're not going to value them. And so that's something that I am trying to get better and better at. Hopefully, as each day goes by, I'll continue to get better in this. But I thought that was a really powerful point from the Sheryl Sandberg interview. This third one is be ready to make and break plans. I've heard this a lot, but just this importance of being flexible, particularly in a fast growth organization. You've got to be able to make plans, knowing that those plans are ultimately going to get broken as you continue to shift and move and grow. This fourth takeaway was working out the process for how you'll work out disagreements well in advance. So whenever Sheryl told the story of when Mark was really courting her to come over to Facebook, this was a long process. They would go to dinner 2 or 3 times a week, I think, and it was started as a friendship and just kind of the sharing of ideas and the vision for where Mark saw Facebook going. And there were a few things that Sheryl and Mark disagreed on. And something that Sheryl's husband told her before he passed away recently, he said, Sheryl, you don't need to figure out these, working out these minor disagreements or these things that you guys don't see eye to eye on, because there's always going to be things that you don't see eye to eye on. What you need to do is figure out a system or a process for how you're going to go about working through those disagreements. And in that system, that's where the power is. And so I think they've now established that the first meeting they both have on Monday morning is with each other, and the last meeting they have of the week on Friday evening or afternoon is with each other. And I'm sure there are other kind of rules of engagement, but setting those rules of engagement for how you're going to engage in disagreement with your senior leadership team, I think is another really powerful idea. This last point, this fifth point, is you have to repeat your mission and values over and over and over again, to the point where you think you're being repetitive, but it's the point where you think you're being repetitive and annoying, that it's actually starting to sink in. So for me, what this looks like at Sweetfish is I was really stewing on this idea. I thought, man, I am not doing a very good job of sharing our mission and our values often at all, really. I wrote a blog post about it a year ago. It's been on our site. It's public. The world knows or can see what our values are, but I am not communicating those enough at all within our organization. So what I think I'm going to do, and hopefully I will be consistent in doing this, is I'm going to start sending a weekly recap email on Friday afternoons. And in that email, it's going to be structured so that our 7 values make up one of the bullet points. And so I went through on my way back from our guys trip this weekend, and I just structured kind of the template for what I want this email to be, so it's in my drafts, so I can easily go back to it and just going through each one of our values. And by focusing on our values, giving a kind of a company-wide update for how we're growing, new accounts that we've landed, new processes we've created, ways that we've improved the customer experience, all different things that I on one hand haven't been doing good, and I haven't been doing a great job of keeping our team updated as a whole, but I also haven't been doing a good job of over communicating our mission and our values. And so I'm hoping to kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this weekly update email, keeping everybody on the same page while simultaneously communicating our values and our mission over and over again. And so that's how I'm going to implement that. But I think there are obviously a ton of different ways you can implement this. But I think the point is you have to repeat your mission and values over and over and over again in whatever way you think is best. So I will use this as a challenge to you, the leader listening to this, whether you're the CEO or you're the marketing leader leading a team, how are you going to communicate that mission and those values over and over and over again so that your team can be truly aligned around the direction that the organization is going and how they're going to go about doing it, which is where the values piece comes in. So hope this has been a helpful episode for you, and hopefully we will not miss any more episodes moving forward. Thank you so much for listening. Again, if you know of a B2B marketing leader that would be a fantastic guest for the show, shoot Jonathan an email, jonathan@sweetfishmedia.com. Thanks a lot.